Welcome to our session. Thank you so much, Eddie, for this opportunity. It means the world for us. We have something very special to share with you, and I hope the acoustics, despite of them, will bring some presence into this moment to just listen what we have to say, what we have to share with you. So first of all, my name is Jose Montemayor. I'm a creative producer, immersive experience designer and developer, and also creative innovation consultant.
And I'm Melissa Warner, a contemplative and psychedelic researcher and educator, meditation teacher, and immersive experience designer.
And we're going to talk about dojos for the HeartMind, a training ground for cultivating altered traits. Next slide. So we're here representing the Cyberdelic Nexus. It's a global transdisciplinary platform connecting organizations, developers, entrepreneurs, artists, all that are experimenting with the intersection between art, technology, science, and consciousness. Next slide, please.
What brought us together is exploring and answering this question. What if technology could help us develop wisdom rather than fragment our attention? And first of all, we think the answer could be partially cyberdelics, but what does that even mean? Let's go to the etymology of the words. Cybernetic, cyber, from kybernetikos, the ancient Greek, to navigate, the art of navigating, in fact. And psychedelic, the original meaning, psyche, mind or soul, delos, to manifest, to reveal the art of navigating and steering the mind. So not just a trippy combination, it's pointing to something more meaningful, deeper.
And I must say, like, cyberdelics are not only inspired by psychedelic states of mind, but all their endogenous states like flow state, dancing, connection, and psychotechnologies. Next. These are some of the components in which cyberdelics get inspired. They get inspiration from contemplative and psychological research. They use immersive technologies, experience design, mindfulness and metacognitive practices, and art. So cyberdelics represent a forward-thinking approach that seeks to understand, explore, and design how to cultivate a humane relationship with technology, and therefore transform our understanding of the mind, the nature of existence, and the human experience. Since 2017, we have been at the forefront of organizing cyberdelic events, from symposiums, incubators, hackathons, showcases, all bringing community together that explores technology, art, and consciousness. Next.
And today we're reaching people all around the world through cyberspace and in person.
Next.
And we've had over 1,000 experiences shared across 15 different countries and created some amazing international collaborations and have received growing media attention.
So we are at a point in our community where we realize that we don't need to create more content. Really, we are figuring that it is more important now to focus on context, like how can the context amplify the meaning and the impact of our content. So that's why we will need to upgrade the relationship with both.
And a term that describes this is by one of our collaborators, one of our directors, Professor Carl H. Smith at the University of East London, this term context engineering, which is an invitation to really choose, become aware of how we are both designed and can design our environments and our experiences. And yet it is also a reminder that our context, our culture, our own narrative, our own stories also designs us.
And here, Terry Pratchett reminds us of a fundamental concept, that we are storytelling apes, that we make meaning of reality through stories. Next. That's why we realize that stories have been and are symbolic technologies that has been transmitting wisdom from generations to generations.
However, they can also unconsciously program the collective imagination.
That's why if yesterday's science fiction is becoming today's technology,
what stories are we planting now? So this is an example of an extended reality future, perhaps an extension of our current reality, where the attention economy has evolved as a captive tool of attention and a sacrifice to our personal agency. So is this a allegory or a near glimpse into a future? We don't know, but it's not surprising that we are going through a meaning crisis right now, when echo chambers are created through the tools that we created to connect us.
And the question for all of us is, do we want this future? Do we actually want to live in a place where our attention is hijacked every single moment of our days? And hold on, because we open a door with AI and things are about to get really weird.
And it's going to be a little harder than computer and program.
That's why we propose to you an idea. Why not redefining our mythos? We must take the responsibility that we need to take the responsibility of inspiring the collective imagination through the stories that we tell. And that's why redesigning the incentives of how we innovate, create, and build is important. So the question to you is, can the poison be the medicine? Welcome to the Cyberdelic paradigm, where we are focusing to shift ourselves from a focus towards states or state shifting towards altered traits, long-lasting development. So what are altered traits? So for example, you probably have heard everyone about flow states, near-death experience, and deep meditative states. But in a long term, if you implement them in your practice, flow states, the research points that it leads to increased self-efficacy and purpose, near-death, increase of appreciation and life, and also reduce of death anxiety, and deep meditative states like samadhi and jhana lead to a reduced trait of anxiety.
And there are many more. Psychedelic mystical experiences, openness to experience, apparently lucid dreaming, greater metacognitive awareness. Makes sense. Let's take a moment, an invitation to practice and share a collective breath, and invite you to remember a time where an altered state changed you. What was it? Was it through an awe-inspiring experience, a psychedelic moment? Just savor that feeling in your body now. Invite it back in, re-evoke. And let's consider this cultural one, the moment when the Earth came into view, Bowman turned the spaceship around, the observer effect, accredited to triggering the birth of the modern environmental movement, the combination of attention, awareness, and the possibility of a cultural gestalt shift.
So as we know, altered states has shifted our lives, but how many of us, while in an altered state, thought that this experience was going to change us forever, or that it was going to last forever, but all of a sudden ended up going back to old habits or going back to the old perceived reality? And this is not meant to be easy, actually, because states are cheap and traits are earned, as Ken Wilber reminds us.
And in fact, we have a focus on calm and the spa-like experience, and really actually we do want a bit of effort, a bit of practice, some eustress, some challenge, the practice of dysregulation to regulation, going down the path of practice. And we are inspired deeply by Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson's book Altered Traits and their work, which is shown that one of the most reliable ways of moving altered states, altered traits, is of course meditation. Can we go back, please? And the image here on the right is really dear to me, the elephant path, part of my Tibetan Buddhist practice. And what we're seeing with altered state work in the West is we're kind of shooting for this rainbow path up here and not really always doing this steady, deliberate work of developing the stabilization of mind. And so what is that path? Well, in the West, it's often called the path of mindfulness, and this is, as you know, a very scientifically studied mechanism. And I love Shapiro and Carlson's description of the three core elements of mindfulness being intention, attention, and attitude. But let's return to the roots with the next slide and turn to the Tibetan words here. Sati, which is mindfulness in Tibetan, remembering, returning, remembering something. What is it? What are we remembering? Patana, placing near, coming into intimate contact with. Sampajana, awareness, clear comprehension. And Sita, the heart mind. And in Japan, the kanji for mindfulness, Zen, includes HeartMind at the bottom here, and also now. So remembering, placing near, coming into intimate connection with our awareness for the HeartMind right now. Next slide. And this is a journey through the spectrum of transcendence, from the narrative self, the experiencing self, and experience without self. And we can see this neurologically too. This is how these states evolve. And also their invitation here is to move through these states, being able to transcend through everyday awareness and to gain the insights of non-ordinary states. And what are those non-ordinary states? I love the term oceanic boundlessness. I decided I wanted to be a psychedelic researcher when I heard that was the word, that there was a measure to describe a peak experience with. It communicates the beauty, it communicates the poetry, the intimate connection with nature, but also oceanic boundlessness. You may be very much out of your depth. And so in my work as an educator in Australia, we created a certificate of psychedelic and contemplative therapies, and our model is swim and float. And this is something we're weaving in to the Cyberdelic Nexus and the dojos we hope to create. Swim is standing for somatic, wisdom, interdependence, and metacognition. And this framework enables individuals to develop the tools of navigation to be able to understand their bodies, develop their nervous system storylines, regulation, embodiment, and philosophy, the love of wisdom. Obviously, to call oneself wise is full of hubris, but being the pursuit of wisdom, we can invite everyone and ourselves into that, to connect to our higher selves through a eudaimonic aspiration. Happiness through value-aligned action. Interdependence, reparenting, shifting our attachment to ourselves and others to allow ourselves to enter stable transcendence, to enter transpersonal realms and create ourselves and together through the tools of metacognition, mindset, mindfulness, multiplicity, the valuing of multiple perspectives internally and externally, and developing meaning. And of course, it's so important to be able to swim through the realms of oceanic boundlessness, but ultimately what we want is to float, of course, to feel, let go, to open into awareness and transcend. And that's the skill set, these are the tools that we're embedding into both Cyberdelics and our trainings. And back to Jose.
Leading us towards the development of an ecology of practices in each of the domain of the swim model to fundamentally root this long-lasting change that we're aiming for. So why immersive technology?
There's a lot of research. It shows that using VR, AR, biofeedback improves concentration, particularly in beginning meditators, but in all meditators of all experience levels, increased positive effect, present moment awareness, the capacity to develop emotional intelligence, and also metacognitive capacities. And we don't want to be here. This is a wonderful image from David Chalmers' Reality in Virtual Worlds, Plato's Cave in the 21st century. How do we not become that? How do we develop the context for these powerful tools to make an impact on our wisdom, on our relationality, and on our presence?
And that's why we're proposing to create dojos, especially cyberdelic dojos. Spaces that function like modern-day dojos for wisdom cultivation, as accessible as a gym and as relational as a sangha. And moving us towards eudaimonic well-being. Currently, most of our focus is on feeling good, on pleasure, life satisfaction, but not about so much about growing the friction or finding meaning or developing the psychotechnologies for discernment of how to get into a closer truth or a paradoxical truth, which focuses more on doing good. In the dojos, we're looking to bring various features like gamification of well-being, personalized learning journeys, offline and online quests, community engagement, seasonal rites of passage, ecology of practices where you will be able to develop and track, designing your own rituals, both individual and collective, and tracking your progress. This is how we envision the UI and the platform, and it's not only used for tracking the development of your practice, but also to interface with an AI sensei that will help you to keep accountable of following your practices. But most important is to revive ritual as a technology, to understand that ritual reprogrammed the human mind since the beginning of time, and how we can stack different of these technologies so we can embed more of these ancient technologies within our modern technologies, and gamifying our quest towards self-mastery. And most important, to find a holistic technique. Holotechnica, a concept coined by Carl H. Schmidt, exploring the nexus of altered states to altered traits to really pin down and focus on finding different stacks of protocols, techniques, technologies, both no-tech, low-tech, and high-tech that can coalesce and unite. And that's why we're creating the SWIM model.
And so coming back to SWIM, each of these lenses of each of these frames actually is formulated structurally by the 4 pillars of contemplative development, which is common amongst most Tibetan Buddhists and also a lot of contemplative frameworks. And those 4 pillars are for everyday practice, for how to bring the path of practice into your life: view, stabilizing the view, aspiration, your practice, the application, interpersonally, relationally, and the fruition of that. So we can't go through all those lenses today. We wanted to show you experiences that our collaborators and ourselves have developed that are tools you can use on the path of practice to develop neuroception.
So for neuroception, we have realms of flow. Realms of flow allows you to train neuroception in ways never possible. It aligns breathing, humming, brainwave entrainment, and also the element of embodied presence through different breathing techniques. This experience has been studied and applied in different studies that allows us to really tap into the power of virtual reality to enter into these states of neuroception. Then contemplation, another experience that we have here, and by the way, offering a session at 4 p.m. here. It's Anuma, and the Pneumadelix Lab, the Clear Light Essence program, a program designed for contemplating your own mortality and confront your relationship to it, and how by doing it in a group setting, you can deepen your understanding of it while also coping with it in a positive way to reinforce the meaning of life. And transcendence, another experience that we're showcasing downstairs. Actually, some of you were doing it yesterday. It's called Star Stuff, designed by the poetic fact that we're made of stars. And in this experience, as you move through, you see the composition of your body made of a constellation of stars. But the most beautiful part about it is that when you connect with one another, you can see each other as such, moving us towards deeper levels of relationality, connection, and meaning-making.
And also Desert Rose here is an experience that we designed to really allow an individual to explore those 3 key aspects of mindfulness: intention setting, directionality, and also attention through breath practice, and also cultivating an attitude to approach a challenge in their life, choosing a path out of a number that they can actually sit with, meditate on, and develop mindfulness with.
These are just some of the experiences from the growing catalog of our community that are offering this lens of exploring technology, art, science, and consciousness to expand perception and deepen our presence. Here, we're sharing experiences that don't just entertain, they reconfigure our perception of what's possible, and therefore providing a path towards training. We're not designing for escape, we're designing for meaning. We're designing for transformation and integration. And we are aiming towards just studying the trends of the experience-based economy. How can we embed transformational culture within the content that we are consuming in the mainstream? And that's why we want to collide the 3 main markets here: the digital therapeutics, the wellness infrastructure, and immersive technologies, to create an impact, a trend even, of how we can use technology, shift our relationship to it, and help us grow and expand. And most important, in the Cyberdelic Nexus, we have created an ecosystem of operating entities for community building, events, for research and development, education, and of course, as you just learned, for training. Join us for making a difference. This is what we have. Next.
We have a team of experienced artists, developers, contemplatives, and we've also got, as you saw, a library of innovative psychedelic experiences, a therapeutic and contemplative framework to structure around dojos and experiences, many academic partners, and letters of intent from several wellness centers and psychological clinics.
And this is our short-term vision. In 12 months, we want to validate product market fit. We want to test out in Austin, Texas, how we can implement already in wellness centers, as well as creating a modular dojo blueprint that can fit in within different sectors or markets. And most important, the go-to-market strategy so we can create partnerships and start distributing.
Our midterm plan is to develop a learning experience platform and to develop that Cyberdelic sensei that we mentioned before, and to start to integrate neurofeedback and biofeedback into our experiences, and that can be tracked over time, and we can see improvements, and actually to do scientific studies.
And our long-term vision is to really create physical dojos, places just as accessible as gyms, but relational as sanghas, places where you can go and train altered states and altered traits, and expanding our Cyberdelic library while also training facilitators to implement new technologies in their practice and create a cross-platform interoperability from the no-tech to the high-tech spectrum. So this is our short-term and mid-term. If you're really interested to help us join into this mission, if it's by just being together, alliances, or if you know someone that can help us, please reach out, as we are a community-based operation and we're incentivizing the growth collectively. This is the team that has made so far this mission possible, and without them, their creativity, their devotion and commitment, we haven't been able to be where we are at. Next. So yeah, if you really see the future of how we can shift our relationship with technology, instead of just consuming or letting the AI do things for us, but actually developing the traits, the skills, and unlocking our human potential, please help us germinate the seed for attention to become sacred again. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Next slide. One more. If you want to find us, this is the QR codes. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, take a photo.
Yeah. Okay, a few. So we're going to be downstairs from around 5 p.m. We're showing 9 experiences. So if you want to come and play, yeah, please join us. And at 4 p.m. we have another clear light essence, but I think we're fully booked by this point. But you can come talk to us and ask questions about what it is and how to participate.